Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Sammons, and in each episode, we'll uncover the stories behind successful startups, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future expansion. Today, we're super excited to have Florian Schleicher join us, the founder of Future Strategies. Florence will be sharing more about his founding story and giving us a glimpse into plans for future growth. So let's jump straight into it. Florence, very warm welcome to Founders Future.
Thank you so much for having me, Olivia. I'm very excited.
No worries. It's very great having you here. So I like to take everyone back to the beginning. So what specific problem inspired you to start Future Strategies?
Apart from having an unpronounceable last name, I'm a marketing strategist and I focus on sustainability.
Love it.
So I really fell in love with marketing back in 2006. I studied at university, marketing and corporate communications, worked my way up, internships, then got an agency job. And then I moved to work for one of my dream brands, which is McDonald's. I was a marketing manager there. Then I had another dream job, which was actually my childhood dream job. I worked for Greenpeace. As a kid, I always wanted to be on the Rainbow Warriors saving whales. I'm not that good on a boat, so I started working also in their marketing department. And then
Love it.
after Greenpeace, I joined Too Good To Go, a startup that is all about food waste. And it was a brand new company back then. And in the 2.5 years that I've worked for To Go, we scaled it from 0 to 700,000 users.
Love it.
So after Too Good To Go, I had this question, okay, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do next? And what I like most about my business and about work in general is I love building stuff. So I like situation when there is nothing and then there is something. And all over my work, I always focus on strategy. So strategy for me is about where we are at the moment. That's our A. Where we want to be. That's our B. And then the third step is we figure out how do we actually get there. And what I've learned through my plus 15 years of working is that a lot of companies actually, they don't die because they have a lack of ideas, but they die because of a lack of clarity to act.
Yeah.
And that's what really jump-started me in creating my own business. And now I help companies to gain this clarity, to really understand what they are doing in marketing, why they are doing it, and how they are doing it.
Love it. Incredible. And a lot of like experience and part, as you say, 15 years in marketing, but then obviously working with some big names like McDonald, Greenpeace, and then sorry, the third one you mentioned, is that mainly based in Austria or is that kind of a European brand as
So
well?
Too Good To Go
Too
is
good to
now
go,
a
yeah.
global brand. They are headquartered in Copenhagen in Denmark, but they
Nice.
are active in every major European market. They are also in the United States, and now they're also launching in Australia. So they're really all over.
Amazing. And you're following in their footsteps. So I want to touch on a little bit on the sustainability side of future strategies. So talk to me about that. What specifically is it that you do that makes it sustainable within the market?
Yeah. So again, coming back to the clarity that I mentioned. Now, there are lots of brands that talk about purpose, ESG, about green transition. But what most companies face as a challenge is they are stuck in this fog of endless reports, of big promises, and then there is no real movement. And what we see again and again is that customers really see through that. And so what I do is I help them figure out what is the essence of their business and how can we link that to sustainability. And then what actions can we really take? But before we decide on the actions, and that's what I feel like is whether it's in sustainability or in strategy in general, is most companies focus on the actions first. They think about, okay, let's start an Instagram account. Let's launch this initiative to reduce our CO2 impact. But the important thing is first to understand, okay, what is our business really all about? What kind of
Yeah.
impact could we have? Then what is the impact that we want to have? And then choose the activities that will actually get us there. So let me give you an example here. last year, I worked with the city of Vienna, and their objective was to launch new initiatives to make the city of Vienna even more livable. Every year there's a ranking, and Vienna mostly ranks in the top 3 of most livable cities. But also our city is getting warmer and warmer. And the summer really here, I can tell you, is becoming more and more unbearable because it's so hot. And then in autumn, we have these floods because the soil is so dry. So they said, okay, we want to do something else. We want to do more. So what we did was, through a process of workshops and research, we first identified what are some of the initiatives that other cities all around the globe are actually taking that are already working. So we talked with trend researchers, we talked with city responsible people, and we identified 500 initiatives at the beginning, but that's obviously too much. So then we understood, okay, this is what happens in the market. And then the second step was we figured out in 5 years' time, what would we like people or the press to say about the city of Vienna when it comes to sustainability? So that was our vision. And then from that, we looked back at all the initiatives, and then we filtered through and said, okay, what really would help us to get there? And we also had, of course, a criteria catalog on what would define a good action for us. It should be easy to communicate, because if you talk to people, it has to be very simple. That's something that we see a lot of times in marketing, is that things are too complicated. So really make it tangible, but also check if it can have a valid impact. And now we're in this phase where we really narrowed down on 5 initiatives. And again, the clarity is very important. If we would have said, let's do 100 initiatives, nothing would get done. But by saying these are the 5 initiatives we want to do, we narrow down on that. And now it's about designing them and actually bringing it to life.
Love it. Yeah. So starting with the vision and then working your way to actually mold everything you need to do to meet that criteria right at the end of it. Love it.
Exactly, exactly. And the thing is, I always look at problems from a marketing perspective. So I'm always about, okay, how can we then communicate about it? I'm not a sustainability expert. That's why I worked with sustainability experts and trend researchers for that. But my client wanted solutions that they can communicate about.
Amazing. Now walk us through a little about the current business model. How is it? So what is it you actually do with your clients when you get to them? Walk me through that end of it.
Yeah. So I basically offer 3 tools, and they all have this aim of making marketing simpler, smarter, and more human. The first one is deep dives. So this is all about uncovering the essence of what truly matters. So again, thinking about the example that I gave you, that would be looking at the market and watching, okay, what is happening in sustainability when it comes to cities? So what basically came out of that was a deep dive. Then the second offering that I have is workshops. So that's 100% tailor-made strategic workshops to solve your challenges. A workshop is for me something where people come together in real life. So I always travel to my clients. I currently work with clients from 11 countries. It's for me always important to have this physical, because most of the workshops, they have from 5 to 25 participants. And I feel like the real magic happens when people are in the same room and when they dedicate some time uninterrupted and really focused. So that's the second thing. And the third thing that I offer is blueprints. So that's then the whole thing that we figured out, that strategy distilled into its essence. So what really helps us to solve that question that we have, that challenge? And I don't produce 100 slides here. Mostly it's 20 to 30 slides, because I'm not a McKinsey consultant. And I really want to give my clients this clarity of, hey, these are the thoughts that are important. This is what you should remember moving forward. And these are the 3 to 5 actions that you should take.
Amazing. I want to touch a little bit on the group sessions that you're doing on that kind of thing. So you're saying you mainly work with in person, and is this now with one company you'll have 3 to 20 employees that you sit down with, or is this with a group of employees from different companies that you're coming down and speaking to together during your workshops?
So in the workshops, it's mostly the people that work in the company that are
Perfect.
present. Sometimes we have an external expert there, but most of the time it's just the employees that actually do the work, or the leadership team that wants to be involved. Or I plan a workshop with some CEOs here that all work for the same initiative that is also about sustainability. So it's always the people who actually want to move forward.
Amazing. And how long do you typically spend within a workshop? Do these go over the matter of a week or are they one day? Talk to me about that side of things.
That's the complicated answer because it always depends on the challenge, depends on the kind of preparation that we can put into. Most of clients I work with on a 1 to 2 day workshop basis. And that depends because if I work, for example, with some CEOs and they say we can do all a pre-read in advance, then that saves us time. Or if we can do some interviews beforehand where I sit down with them individually and really figure out, okay, what's important for this project to get it right. So it always depends, but 1 to 2 days is a
Yeah.
regular thing.
Okay, cool. So everything is customizable to the customer's needs and to whatever you feel
Yes.
best for the business and
And I think that's the stupid part about my business, talking about challenges, because I don't have a standardized offer. Of course, I have a lot of experience and I have some tools and methods that I like to use in workshops, but I always really tailor it to my clients' needs and what they really require, also what the challenge requires. So everything is really always tailor-made for them.
I think that's a nice thing to have on touch though. It shows it's more personal for each individual need. Not every client's going to need the same, has the same weaknesses or bottlenecks compared to the next one maybe. So I don't think that's a bad thing. How do you typically go about acquiring your customers at the moment?
So I have a flywheel of measures that I take, which also grew organically. A year, in my first year of having my own business, I had this phase where I wasn't always sold out. Of course, it was my first year. So what I did back then is I felt the need to still work on something. And what I always enjoyed was writing.
Right.
So in my first year, I started writing a newsletter about marketing, strategies, and sustainability. And as of right now, this has expanded to 1,700 people reading it. So that's 1,700 marketing leaders and founders and CEOs reading the stuff that I write every 3 to 4 weeks. So that's one big source of income, of projects, of inbounds. The second thing is I also have a podcast. So I invite guests on my podcast to talk about strategy, sustainability, and marketing and how they intersect. And thus I give brands a stage to talk about what they do. And then other people approach me and say, hey, I loved what you talked about with this brand. Is this also something that we could use for ours? And then obviously I'm active on LinkedIn and Instagram. But what always was important for me there is not to become a lifestyle kind of brand.
Yeah.
I'm no influencer, but I always want to provide added value. And that's also the thing of the newsletter. The newsletter is never salesy. Maybe there's a little note of, hey, I could also do something like that for you, but it's always about deep dives of better understanding marketing and strategies and sustainability, because I believe that at the end of the day, there is so much content out there. And the only way to cut really through, and that's, I think, why my business is also thriving, is because I give people something that they actually have a use for. And I don't come knocking at their door every couple of weeks and say, hey, do you want to work with me?
Yeah, 100%. An offer that resonates with people. And then when you have that personal interjection, as you're saying, from the newsletters, even having your personal presence online as well, but not interfering too much with the brand, definitely adds to the referral system incredibly. When you're talking about bound and the email setup you have off the back of the newsletters, how is that working for you? Do you run that like a funnel? Do you get a lot of customers off that, or is it mainly just to help with the referral system moving forward?
So mainly it's just deep dives on specific topics that I write. I send it out as a newsletter. People receive
Amazing.
it and then they reach out to me and then they remember me. I think the thing why that works is that every couple of weeks, people get reminded of Florian exists
Yep.
and he knows what he talks about. I don't think that most people really read this as 3 or 4 pages if you would put it into a Word file of text, but people just scroll through it, see, ah, yeah, interesting, I might read this paragraph here, but the important thing is that you remember my name
Yep.
and the topics that I focus on.
100%. As long as you're top of mind when they're thinking about
Exactly.
thing and moving forward, that's all that matters. So, talk to me about the team behind Future Strategies. Is it just you at the moment, or do you have a couple of people underneath you working for you? What does the team look like that help you out?
So Future Strategies is me and a team of selected experts that I work with on a freelance basis. So whatever kind of resources are required for a project, be that design, an editor, programmer, trend researcher, cultural experts, I get these on board. I have my network, and then I also tailor make this for the specific challenge and the customer needs.
Amazing. And I'm assuming you take care of the marketing and all that side of it yourself, considering what you do and the company itself.
I do, and I also think that it wouldn't work as well as it does if I wouldn't do it myself, because at the end of the day, being a one-person company, people and brands come to me because they want to work with me as a person.
Yep.
If I would send someone else there, it wouldn't have the same effect, especially working in marketing strategy. It's about the knowledge that I've acquired over all the stations that I worked for, all the clients that I worked for in the past. And this is what my customers are really buying. I don't have a method or a model like McKinsey or some other big consultancies have, but I have the experience and the knowledge of how to actually make it work.
Amazing. And what do the next 12 months look like for you? Have you got any plans or any strategies in place to help you grow? And what does that look like?
Yeah, so very exciting. I'm actually in the process of launching my first self-written trend report. I call it Pulse, and it will be about a major insight and shift that I have observed in customer behavior and how brands can utilize it for their marketing strategy to actually connect more with their audience. I'm super excited on that. So I will first publish it also through my newsletter to my community, and then let's see what happens. I'm very curious how this will develop, how it will be perceived, and also if this is something that I can then expand on further and maybe write a second trend report maybe next year.
Yeah, amazing. And see what happens off there and continue moving that forward. And then in terms of future strategies, anything in place for that you see going well over the next 12 months and you're looking to expand on?
The thing that I love most about my work is the workshops. Getting people into the room, preparing for it, thinking about all the eventualities. And then there never was a workshop where everything that I planned, I stuck to it, because things happen in a workshop and then the audience, the participants, they require something else. So I'm always super perceptive at these workshops, and I run my plan, and then maybe I observe, okay, here we need something different. And this is really all of the fun for me. I also give a lot of talks and presentations, and the thing that I always enjoy most is the Q&A at the end, because
Nice.
that's when I really have to be creative and tailor it to the person who asked the questions or the participants. And most of workshops, they honestly start with a sigh of my customers, of my clients, when they say, oh, this is so exhausting, we don't know what to do. And at the end, it's a breath of release when they say, this feels a little bit more clear now, thank you. And then we move to the blueprint afterwards, and they really see it all in a big picture.
Amazing. Now, you mentioned before, obviously, with the fact that everything is done in person, you are very much ahead of the marketing and kind of doing a lot of wearing a lot of hats yourself. As you look to scale, do you ever see yourself pulling away slightly from the business and being more of an overview, or are you always really meaning to have that personal connection moving forward?
So as I see it now, because this is obviously something that will evolve, is I want to always work as close as I work now with my clients. The thing that I shifted in the last 3 years, I started my business 3.5 years ago, is at the beginning I worked a lot with individual founders, with startup founders. And now I mainly work for corporate clients. So what I did is I shifted a level up, and this also enabled me to have a more sustainable source of income. And it's far easier than if you are constantly jumping from one startup client to the next. Whereas if you have 3 to 5 corporate clients, you can really dive deep, you understand what they need, And then you can build a relationship there. And obviously, they have different budgets than startups have. This is something that I changed. And I think this is this refocusing on who really your target audience is. This enables me to grow then. And otherwise, I'm lucky at the moment that I can really choose the projects that I work on. Whereas at the beginning, it was like feast and famine. Sometimes it was too much work and then it was nothing. It's now really about choosing the right client and the right challenge. And sometimes also saying to clients, this is very interesting, but I don't think I'm the right fit for that. And having that luxury, that's also something I very much enjoy.
Yeah, I can bet. And even the confidence to say to people when it is not a good fit, that it's not going to work good on both ends, just shows a lot of, I suppose, backbone and integrity from your part, not to just take on people for money, but because you can actually help them as well.
Exactly.
How long ago, I'd be interested to know how long ago you made the pivot from, as you say, from like lower, small end entrepreneurs, solopreneurs to the corporate companies?
I think that the conscious decision was a year ago. But before that, already, I would say in total, 1.5 years ago, that shift began.
Nice.
And 1 year ago, I really narrowed down and said, okay, this is the audience that I want to appeal to. And then I started restructuring my whole content, the newsletter, the podcast, and LinkedIn to really fit more to the chief marketing officer, head of marketing perspective and understand them and their challenges. Because in the end, marketing is always about understanding who my audience is and what they really need. And the bigger that audience is, the more complicated it is. Talking about my experience at McDonald's, when almost
Yeah.
everybody in your market is your audience, it's really hard to find an insight that works for everyone. But if you have this audience, and that's why I'm so proud of 1,700 readers, this is not like 1,700 people, it's 1,700 chief marketing officers, heads of marketing, CEOs. And when you look at it like that, it's not the big number that counts, but really, are you in your niche and have you understood what value you bring to that niche?
100%. 100%. And just to finish it off, I've got a couple of lightning questions for you.
Sure.
So, what is the best piece of advice that you've received about scaling a business?
I would say to always add value to your audience and to really understand what they need and then give it to them for free.
Love it. Amazing. And then just to finish off, what advice would you give to any founders who are listening and just at the start of their journey?
Be as precise as you can about what you're offering. Don't offer everything to everyone. I know it's tempting to say, I'm a one woman, one man show who can do it all, but people won't remember you for doing it all. But if you say, I'm the best one at building small miniature Lego sets, then people will remember you for that. And then they will come back for you for exactly that one thing. And this is how you stay top of mind.
100%. Be precise, be consistent, and know who you're talking to. Love it. They both come hand in hand, the things that you said as well. Perfect. And I suppose before we wrap up, Florian, where can we find you? Instagram, LinkedIn, we've mentioned before. And what's the website we can hit you up at?
So Instagram and LinkedIn with my super complicated name. And the website that you can find me at is future-strategies.com.
Amazing. And with that is a wrap on another inspiring episode of Founders Future. I want to thank Florian so much for sharing his incredible journey and insight with us today. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future via wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, please visit closers.io to jump on a call with one of our team and discover how we were able to go from 0 to 30 million in less than 3 years. And until then, keep climbing, and we will see you on the next one.